Hi, good evening. Welcome to our 9 p.m. of our Industrial English Lecture Hall. I am your lecturer. My name is Jack. Looking into macroeconomics, when we have the prefix of macro, this means something that is over a long period or it's a large scale. Okay, so how does the government policy or international trend affect us? Well, one thing, what we said earlier, governments can make broad monetary, anything that's related to money. When we say monetary, relating to money or currency, monetary and fiscal policy changes. Here, fiscal, we're saying relating to taxes. The money that we have to pay to the government, usually income tax, and it's something that we have here in Taiwan. So they could change the monetary and fiscal policies, including raising and lowering interest rates. A business cycle, meaning it is a cycle. It's not really a circle, as you can see here in this picture, where you see there is growth in the business, and you'll reach a peak, meaning the highest point, and then you will have some kind of contraction, meaning it's getting back, instead of expanding, getting larger, it's getting smaller, and you will hit at some point at the bottom, and investors will likely see the need to invest a bit more money, thus creating another strong economic growth. So this is normal, right? In terms of any type of industry, there is a certain business cycle. So it's for something that we need to understand. Um, so getting into it, we're going to look into what macroeconomics is. Yeah. Okay, so you can see these are the specific area they study: inflation, price levels, how the economy is growing, national income, GDP of a specific country, and the unemployment rates within the country. Yeah. So some questions addressed here used as a verb, meaning to spoken about formally by macroeconomics, are what causes unemployment and what causes inflation. Yeah. So we see the indicators of GDP, inflation, and employment rate is necessary for the operation. To give you a better picture, we're saying macroeconomics is about booms and busts. Right? Booms meaning growth, busts meaning sudden contraction, which can also be thought about as recession, meaning it's a stagnant period. We're not moving, we're not growing, we're staying still. If something is considered as stagnant, okay, staying still, which is not good for an economy. You always want to be kind of growing, hence why a small percentage of inflation is sought after. But macroeconomics here, simpler term, it's for you to decide, like, will I get a job when I graduate? How is the job market right now? Should the government cut taxes? Okay. To reiterate, remember the goal of learning economics is to become a better decision maker. And part of that is learning how the economy works. Yeah. However, it is also important to know the limitation of the models, right? Hence, we talk about macro. There's also micro. We will look into the specific details of how each financial transaction, right, each buying and selling of a commodity affects the economy as a whole. So that will be micro, looking in detail. But macro right now, we're looking at the whole picture. Right? That's why here we know there's some limitation. Theories and forecasts macroeconomists produce. So the concept here is not to fully believe what these experts say. It is to take it with a grain of salt, which is an idiom meaning don't believe everything. Okay, just to take bits of it that you agree with and then think critically on your own, which is required of macroeconomists or even us as regular citizens. Okay, so theories they they don't have certain real world details like actual taxation, regulations set by our government, different government policy that we have, right, on the spectrum of pure planned economy to laissez-faire. And transaction costs, we say buying and selling of goods. The first one, we said we're going to talk about GDP, gross domestic product, unemployment rate, and inflation rate. The most important measurement of an economy is GDP, which is why you hear a lot. GDP is the value of all final goods and services produced. Here, let's write that down. GDP is the final product. Here, let's say is the final goods and services. Excuse me. GDP is the final goods and services produced within a given period. An economy has four parts that make up GDP. Okay, each represents a different group that can purchase things in the economy. GDP consists of consumer spending, like us buying goods, business spending, which is called investment, government spending, usually what they're able to put back into the economy, and net exports, which are spending by other countries, because they're buying our commodity, right, exporting. If any of these four components loses power, the economy will slow down. Okay? It will lower GDP. But not all of these four gauges are created equal. Okay? Some economies heavily rely on consumer spending, such as the United States. Yeah, like consumers account for about 70% of GDP in America, whereas other places they may weigh that more on net exports. Okay, so the point is, when I'm driving the car, we need to regulate the speed. We don't want to push for a sudden expansion because we know following that there will be a contraction. Right, we say the cause and effects, increasing in cost, increasing in GDP, having to lay off workers, then there's a contraction involved. Okay, so that's a bit more understanding for GDP. So, looking into then to wrap up, given the large amount, the large scale of government budget, the money planned for spending, budget, and the impact of economic policy on consumers and businesses, macroeconomics clearly concerns itself with significant issues. And some big parts: unemployment, GDP. If properly applied, economic theories can offer insights on how economies function and the long-term consequences of particular policies and decisions. It could be traced back why we're currently, right, experiencing an inflation. And macroeconomic theories can also help individual businesses and investors make better decisions, again, through a more thorough understanding of the effects of broad economic trends and policies on their own industries. Okay, so this give us a better picture now, understanding how that all comes into play, regardless of the industry that you work in. Okay, because we were talking about growth within a specific region, which is usually specific to a country.